Ms. Gutierrez.
Thank you, Your Honor. Danielle, who do you work for?
I am an investigator for the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services.
And did you receive an intake on the child, Miranda?
Yes, I did.
Can you tell me when that intake was received?
We received more than one intake. We received the first one in the first part of July, and the second intake was received towards the middle to the end of July.
Okay. Now, who is the child's mother?
Mandy Kimball,
And who is her father?
David Veldhuis.
And the parents do not reside together with the child, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Which parent does the child reside with?
With David Veldhuis.
And who else is in David's household?
Jean Marie Belize.
Thank you. Now, on the first intake, was that received by the department on July 20th of 2023?
Yes, ma'am.
And what were those intake allegations?
That intake came in due to an incident that occurred in April where Jean Marie Belize hit David Veldhuis with her car, and the police were called out to the home due to that incident.
Okay. And when did the department receive the second intake?
July 31st.
And what were the intake allegations in that second intake?
That intake came in due to a concern that there was drug use in the home and that Mr. Veldhuis and Miss Belize were using methamphetamines, and that they would leave Miranda home alone to go use drugs or lock themselves in the bedroom to use them. There was also concern that Mr. Veldhuis was acting in inappropriate ways and having random behaviors such as digging in his front yard for things and saying things that made no sense.
Okay. And when were you assigned to the case? Was that July 31st of 2023?
Yes, ma'am. I received it when the second intake came in.
And did you make arrangements to meet with Mr. Veldhuis?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And did you make contact with him on August 3rd of 2023?
Yes, I did.
And how did he respond to the allegations in the intakes?
Mr. Veldhuis was very confrontational with me when I was in his home. He told me that all of it was not true, that none of it could be true, that this was just an attack on him. He got very angry with me. He walked out of the room multiple times while we were having our interview. When I told him that I needed him to go drug screen to rule out a concern of drug use, he told me he would not go drug screen for me, that he knew his rights and that civil courts could not do anything to him.
Let's see here. Did you also explain the reports, the allegations that he was using drugs with the father of one of his children's friends?
Yes, I did.
And how did he respond to that allegation?
He told me that that was none of my business. When I tried to get that father's information from him, he refused to give it to me.
Okay. How would you describe Mr. Veldhuis's demeanor during your interaction with him?
He was very withdrawn while I was there. He was very agitated. It looked like he had not slept while I was there. It looked like he hadn't slept in a while.
Your Honor, at this time, the department offers petitioners Exhibit 3, the indictment for the girlfriend, Ms. Vilas, hitting Mr. Veldhuis with her car, and that was for aggravated assault with a deadly weapon.
All right. Objections?
No objection.
No objection.
Petitioners 3 is admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. Additionally, we offer petitioners Exhibit number 4, which is the order of deferred adjudication reflecting the defendant pled guilty to that charge.
Objections?
No, Your Honor.
Right. Petitioners 4 is admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. Now, did you check with the drug testing facility to see if Mr. Veldhuis complied with the drug screen, even though he indicated he would not?
Yes, ma'am. I did call to see if he went to drug screen, and they reported he never showed up.
Okay. Now, on August 14th of 2023, did you reach out to the mother of the child, Mandy Kimball?
She actually reached out to me.
Okay, can you tell me what was discussed in that conversation based on her words and please?
Ms. Kimball and I spoke about the custody agreement that had been put in place prior to the department being involved. She explained to me that in their custody agreement that they can send each other to drug screen and they have 5 hours to go once the other person sends them. She did explain to me that she has attempted to send him to drug screen and he did not go for her either, and that they have to pay for that themselves. So if she sends him to drug screen, she has to pay for it and he has 5 hours to go. He did not drug screen for her at that point. She stated that there have been times when Miranda has called her and been upset that she can't wake up David. She's been crying that she has no food. Mandy Kimball did explain to me that she's very concerned about the environment that her daughter is living in.
Now, when you visited the home, was there food in the home of Mr. Veldhuis?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. However, Ms. Kimball expressed concern that her child did not have access to that or did not have food in home. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, at this time, we offer petitioners exhibit number 1. This is the temporary orders and suit to modify parent-child relationship in the custody case for the child Miranda, and the provision for the parents to ask each other to drug screen is on page 4. Now, Danielle, following that, did you testify in a separate case for Jean Marie Bellis?
Yes, I did.
Can you please explain what you testified about very, very briefly?
I was subpoenaed to testify in a custody hearing in the court of Judge Denny in Potter County in August between Jean Marie Bellis and her ex-husband, Kelly Bellis. I was asked to discuss the case that we have, this one here, plus a case I had on Jean Marie as well. During that hearing, we discussed the concerns in the home between Jean Marie and David Veldhuis. And during that hearing, it was also discussed what concerns the department had as a whole and what the department was recommending be done in the home with Jean Marie.
Okay. Now, who was ordered to drug screen in that order, in that temporary order in that case?
Judge Denny court ordered Jean Marie Bellis and David Veldhuis to attend a hair follicle drug screen that day.
And did Ms. Bellis comply with that?
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Bellis did drug screen.
And were her results negative?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, you understand that court doesn't necessarily have jurisdiction over Mr. Veldhuis, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
However, do you feel that he should have complied with that order?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, at this time, we offer petitioners exhibit number 2, the temporary order having Mr. Veldhuis drug screen and cause number 89869-D out of Potter County.
All right, objections?
No
No,
objection.
Your Honor.
All right, petitioners 2 is admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. Now, Ms. Smith, is Ms. Bellis in her own separate family-based services case to address the allegations in her separate suit?
Yes, ma'am, she is.
Okay. And did you receive a phone call on September 7th, 2023 from Ms. Kimball?
Yes, I did.
And what did she state that was concerning?
During that phone call, it was reported to me that Ms. Bellis had kicked Mr. Veldhuis and Miranda out of the home because of the fact that he was not going to be willing to work family-based services with her and her family.
Okay.
He was on the street and they had located him and picked him and her daughter up. By the end of the weekend, she had allowed both of them back into the home with her again.
Who's she?
Miss Bellis, I apologize. Miss
Okay.
Bellis had allowed both of them back into her home.
Now, Ms. Smith, is there previous CPS history with David Belduis and Jean Marie Belize?
Yes, ma'am, we have multiple cases with both of them that involve domestic violence and alcohol.
Okay, and was there a 2020 case that resulted in a disposition of reason to believe for neglectful supervision by David Belduis?
Yes, ma'am.
And was that also for a domestic violence incident?
Yes, ma'am.
And did the family work family-based services at that time?
Yes, ma'am.
However, would you agree that the changes that should have resulted from working those services have not lasted?
Yes, ma'am, I would agree with that.
Do you believe that David Belduis presents a continuing danger to the physical health and safety of the child?
Yes, I do.
Do you believe that she is at substantial risk of abuse or neglect by him?
Yes, I do.
And as far as Ms. Kimball, did Ms. Kimball recently get out of prison?
Yes, ma'am, she did.
And how is she doing as far as staying on the straight and narrow?
Ms. Kimball has done very well since being released from prison. She has been able to maintain housing. She's working. She's drug screened for the department, and her screen has been cleaned for the department.
Now, prior to going into prison, did she struggle with substance abuse?
Yes, ma'am.
And what substance was that?
I believe that it was methamphetamines, but I would not hold me to that.
Okay. Now, do you believe that Mandy Kimball also in the past exposed the child to substantial risk of abuse and neglect?
Yes, in the past she has.
Okay. And the custody order indicates that she is supposed, apologies. What is your understanding of her visitation of the current custody order, the temporary order?
It is my understanding that she is supposed to have weekend visitation supervised at either family support services or by her family. And that it's supposed to be agreed upon by all parties. I don't know anything beyond that at this point. I'm sorry.
Are we asking for Mandy Kimball to work services as well in this order to participate?
Yes, just to show that she can maintain.
Okay. What services are we asking for Mandy to complete?
We're asking that she attend rational behavior therapy just to give her some more coping skills to use in the future. We're asking that she attend some individual therapy. It'll help her with keep maintaining in the future as well. We're asking for some co-parenting between her and David just so that they can maintain for Miranda's sake. And we're asking for her to attend all drug screens as requested by the department. And then if she should test positive, we'll ask for a drug and alcohol assessment.
Okay. And for the father specifically, what services are we requesting?
We are asking for rational behavior therapy for Mr. Beltwee. We are also asking for a drug and alcohol assessment. He will need to be honest during that assessment, of course. He will need to attend all random drug screens. We are asking for a psychological or a psychosocial evaluation, and he will follow any recommendations made during that evaluation. Individual therapy, co-parenting therapy, and we do believe that he needs to take the assessment at the Batterers Intervention Program and then follow through with the recommendations made.
Now, Ms. Smith, have there been any allegations of Mr. Valduis being a perpetrator of domestic violence in the investigation?
Not in the current investigation, but multiple investigations with Mr. Veldwees have listed him as the perpetrator, and we do not feel that he has learned from past cases, and we feel like he needs to be evaluated to determine if he is a victim or a perpetrator.
Okay. And then based on that evaluation, would we return to court and ask for something different if BIP is not appropriate?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. In addition to those items, are we also asking the court to order the parents to create a service plan with the family-based safety services program?
Yes, ma'am.
Are we also asking for them to stay in contact and keep their information updated with the department?
Yes, ma'am.
Are we also asking for entry into their homes to view the premises and living conditions?
Yes, ma'am.
Are there any other services that we are asking the court for?
Not at this time, no.
Ask the witness.
All right, thank you. Ms. Smith, my overriding question is, why is this not a removal case? Why is this a motion to participate?
That is actually a question that I cannot answer, as I presented this to my attorneys, and this is what I was told to go with.
Okay. We'll get into the legalities of it here in a minute. So, Ms. Kincaid, did you have questions?
I do, Your Honor. Ms. Smith, has Ms. Kimball stayed in contact with you?
Yes, ma'am.
Has she been cooperative with you?
Very cooperative, yes.
Has she indicated to you that she's willing to work any and all services to demonstrate that she would be a safe and appropriate placement for her daughter?
Yes, she has.
Okay. And has she voiced to you numerous concerns since you got a hold of this case that Mr. Veldwe is keeping the child from her?
Yes, ma'am.
And that's occurred on numerous occasions. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And there have been numerous FaceTimes between Miss Kimball and Miranda in which Miranda has voiced concern about her safety.
Yes.
Is that correct? And the most recent one, you may not be aware of it, was on September 29th. Is that correct?
Correct.
I was not aware. I got an email from I believe yesterday or the day before about it.
Okay. But there have been numerous incidences since the beginning of the case where Mr. Veldwe is keeping the child away from Miss Kimball. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And have you been able to visit Miss Kimball's residence?
I've not visited Miss Kimball's residence recently, no.
Okay. Has anybody from the department been there?
No, her home was not our home of concern, so we had not been to her home.
Okay. So do you know anything about her living situation?
No, I do not. I know that she lives with, I believe it's her father.
Okay. Considering the current, have you done any investigation into Miss Kimball's father?
No, he is not a party to the case. I have not done any investigations on him.
Okay. Considering the chaos that's involved with Mr. Veldwe's home and the multiple cases that are open with him, is it something the department would consider to place the child with Miss Kimball since she's been safe, or she's passed her drug screens and has indicated a willingness to cooperate during a family-based support services case?
I cannot violate a custody agreement, so we have not considered placing the child with her. The department would have to take custody of the child to move her out of David's home. And like I told Judge Graham, we staffed with our attorney and filed for a motion to participate.
Okay, thank you. I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Michelson?
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Smith, have you had any contact with David since the initial investigation?
I've attempted to have contact with David. He has not returned any phone calls and refuses to speak to the department.
Okay. And in the past reports where David was identified as the perpetrator, were those founded or unfounded reports?
We've given reason to believe on both of those cases. I've not had access to some of the other cases. They're marked as sensitive due to some concerns within the department, so I have not been able to look at those.
Okay. And what steps were taken to ensure Miranda was safe and protected during the investigation?
At this time, when we went into the home, we have no outcries coming from Miranda. She is with Jean Marie Belize, and Jean Marie has been attempting to keep her safe in that home with David. But because of no outcries from Miranda, I have not been able to substantiate at this time.
Okay. Pass the witness.
Mr. Ingram?
Did you actually ever see Miranda at any point during your investigation?
Yes, I've seen Miranda multiple times, and I actually saw her today.
Okay. Where is she going to school? And so she's still attending school?
Yes, sir.
And you say she's with Jean Marie Belize. How do you know that?
Because that's the home that she lives in. She lives with Jean Marie and David.
How do you know that she lives with them?
Because I've been to that home multiple times.
Is her father still in the home as we sit
Yes,
here
sir.
today?
Yes, sir.
As witness.
Anyone have further questions for Ms. Smith?
No, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Smith, do you know what Ms. Kimball was in prison for?
If you'll give me 1 second.
I can ask her if you can't find it.
I don't know it off the top of my head. I apologize.
Okay, no, that's fine.
It was unauthorized use of a motor vehicle.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Okay, Ms. Gutierrez, do you have any other witnesses?
No, Your Honor, the department rests. We do request that the OTB be granted. If the court prefers removal, I can file a non-suit, or if you want to order the OTP and I'll file for removal. I'm not sure what the court wants to do. I do not believe that we have jurisdiction anymore to make orders regarding where the child lives or restrict a parent in some other custody manner like that. So if the court just let me know what you want me to do, Judge, and I'll follow through.
Okay, yeah, and I understand on the OTP we can't decide where the child lives, but all right, let's just get the other formalities out of the way. Ms. Kincaid, did you have witnesses?
I was briefly going to call Ms. Kimball to explain the UUMV and some of those other things, if you'd like to hear that, Judge.
Oh, yeah.
And also her home as well.
Yeah, let's go ahead. I'd like to hear it because I think I know where I'm headed.
All right, Ms. Kimball, you are the mother of Miranda, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, and just to cover some of our bases here, you were in prison, is that correct?
That is correct.
And that was for a UUMV, is that correct?
That is correct.
And you are out now. And how long have you been out?
I've been out since May 17th of 2023.
And you are not on parole, is that correct?
That is correct.
Are you gainfully employed?
Yes.
Where are you working?
I work for Mills Construction. I do housekeeping. I also work for Emerald Custom Pools doing housekeeping.
Okay, and is that a full-time job?
Yes, it is.
Okay, and so you're able to contribute to your household?
Absolutely.
Okay, and you wouldn't have any problems drug testing for the department, is that correct?
That is correct. I have no problem with that. I also had paid for my own drug testing back in July. So for the court.
Okay.
Before any of this was about. So I'm willing to do whatever it takes.
Okay. And let's talk a little bit about your housing. You live there in Amarillo, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And you live about a block from her school, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, and who do you live with?
I live with my father, Aubrey Tucker.
Okay, and he's willing to submit to a background screen or anything else that the department requests, is that correct?
That is correct. He works for the Department of TDCJ.
Okay, and how many bedrooms is your house?
It's a 3-bedroom.
Okay, and so Miranda would have a safe place to stay. I understand, or there's some complexities, but you know, if she were to be placed with you, there would be plenty of room for her. Is that correct?
Absolutely. She has her own room and her own bed.
Okay, and there wouldn't be any issues with transportation to and from school?
No, ma'am.
Any other kind of medical, doctor, dental appointments wouldn't be an issue for transportation?
No, it would not.
Okay, and should today become an order to proceed or order to participate, you'd be willing to do any and everything that the department requests of you?
Yes, ma'am. I will make sure all of my obligation to CPS and to my child. So.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you. I'll pass a witness, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Ms. Gutierrez, questions?
Mandy, in that temporary order where you guys are allowed to ask each other to drug screen, why did you ask for that provision on Mr. Veldhuis?
Because I suspect he is on drugs. just his behaviors and what he's telling Miranda. He's just this past weekend, Miranda had told me over FaceTime, said that he can move the clouds with his mind. And it's been ongoing. I mean, my dad could probably tell you more than I could, because I don't know. It's just, I'm very concerned with what he's influencing on my daughter.
Does Mr. Veldhuis have a history of drug use?
Yes.
Can you tell me what that history is?
The history of drug use is alcohol and pills. And I know that he's been on methamphetamines before. I suspect he is now, just by looking at him and how skinny and withdrawn he looks. And he's very erratic. He thinks the FBI is watching him all the time. It's just all the red flags are showing, and that's why. And what caused me to ask for the hair follicles whenever Miranda couldn't wake him up, and I was on the phone FaceTime with her for about 3.5 hours because she was scared alone. And she's done that with me like 3 different times.
Ask the witness.
All right, Mr. Michelson.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Kimball, how long were you in custody?
15 months.
15 months. And how long were you in custody before you were sent to prison?
You mean like during my jail time before I went to prison?
Yeah. Were you out on bond?
No, I was in Randall County for about 6 months, and then prison. Altogether, it was 15 months.
Okay. And during that time, did you have a visit with your daughters?
No.
Okay. And what is your current visitation with your daughter?
It's every weekend on Saturdays, or every first and third Saturday, starting at 10 to 6. And this past Saturday, I had David had acted like he was going to bring her to me, but didn't. He had her over at his mom's house, and he had stated, well, Yvonne, his mother, told me that I was not to be around Miranda or to let her go with me.
When was the last time you had a visit with your daughter?
It was on her birthday party. It was Saturday, September 23rd.
Of this year?
Yes. And on the 21st, on Thursday, we had been trying to contact David about her birthday party, because I was throwing her birthday party that Saturday, and he said no. Well, he failed to go and pick up Miranda from school that day, so my dad had picked her up on Thursday. And then the following day, on September 22nd, David had failed to pick up Miranda again, so we ended up keeping Miranda, and she stayed the night.
Okay.
Friday
Stop
night.
right there. Stop.
Yes.
Okay. Before the visit on the 23rd, when was the last visit you had before that?
It was that Saturday.
What Saturday?
On September 2nd.
Okay.
It was with the weekend that David and Miranda were walking on the street when Jean had kicked them out.
And how are you involved with your daughter at school?
Yes. I mean, per the court order, after today, I would like for those to be changed, that I would be able to pick her up, because I'm not on any of the pickup list or anything. So I am involved with the school. I do talk to Miss Hike, the principal, and she is informed about all this.
So you get information about your daughter's performance and behavior at school?
Yes.
Okay.
And through my dad picks up Miranda, and I get all that information through my dad.
Okay. No further questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Ingram?
No questions.
All right. Ms. Kimball, tell me kind of briefly about your UUMV conviction or plea. You don't seem like the type.
Well, Your Honor, it was a road rage incident. This lady was putting on her brakes and slamming on her brakes, cut us off. And then she got out in the middle of the street, and so did my boyfriend at the time, and she ended up hitting him. And so I got out to kind of get in between there, and she was a really big woman, and she cleaned my clock. I'm going to just tell you that, Your Honor. And to get away from her, I hopped in her car because we were closer to her car, And I shut and locked the door and I freaked out and I took off. I don't know. It was a very sporadic, scared moment in my life. And that's what happened. And it just went from there. I'd lost my phone. I couldn't call the police until the police were already had her story and so forth. So.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that. I appreciate your honesty.
Yes.
All right. Anyone else have further questions for Ms. Kimball? All right, then, I'm sorry?
I do not.
Okay. Ms. Kincaid, did you have any other witnesses?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Michelson, did you have witnesses?
No witnesses, Your Honor.
Mr. Ingram, any witnesses?
No witnesses.
Mr. Ingram, you have any recommendations?
Yeah, in order to participate, it's a total waste of time. I have not been able to contact Miranda. We've made at least 5 different attempts to talk to her. Andy did talk to the father briefly one time. He was extremely hostile. We told him we needed and had to talk to Miranda. And we called back, or Andy's called back at least 5 times and left messages trying to talk to Miranda, and he totally ignores us. So,
Okay. All right.
That's what I go through.
Okay, then I'm going to dismiss this case today. And I will be more than happy to sign a removal once the department, if they choose to file it. I don't usually make a finding like that in an OTP case, but I definitely find that there's a continuing danger to the Miranda's physical health and safety to continue to be placed with her father. And I find that it's contrary to her welfare to be placed with her father. So this case is dismissed, and I'll be around today, tomorrow, whenever. I'll sign that removal. If the department chooses to file it, I'll sign it the minute I get it. So.
Yes, Your
Your
Honor.
Honor.
Oh, and I guess I can just go ahead, Ms. Gutierrez, if the department does file it, I'll set a hearing just as quickly as I can. I want him to be ordered to drug test, and I want an expedited home study on Ms. Kimball.
Yes, Your Honor. We'll get working on that right away. I see Daniel nodding yes.
Okay, I appreciate that. Okay, Ms. Kimball, I'll probably be seeing you shortly at another hearing. So.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, we will stand in recess. And I think Ms. Gutierrez, I think that's all I had with you. My other cases for the day are with us for the department. So Mr. Harris is with us representing the children. Ms. Lucero is with us representing the father. Mr. Solis, who is with us, and Mr. Jackson is with us representing the mother, Ms. Arredondo, and do not show that she's with us. Mr. Jackson, were you expecting your client?
Your Honor, I was appointed on this case on the 22nd of September, and I didn't get notice of this case until the 28th. I did send a letter to Ms. Arredondo on September the 28th. I did send her a letter notifying her of this hearing. I don't honestly know if she's received that or not. I mean, I think that the mail surely had time to get there between the 28th and the 4th, but I've not had contact with my client, Judge.
Your Honor, if I may, I believe she may be present there with Mr. Solis, Joel.
Is that correct?
Okay.
Okay. Mr. Jackson, do you need time to visit with her? If you've not talked to her, I'll be happy to give you a breakout time.
Yes, sir, if I could, please.
I just thought I'd bring it up. I knew. And you might instruct her if you do not want Mr. Solis to be present. Mr. Solis, if Mr. Jackson wants to talk with Ms. Arredondo separately, you'll need to leave the room. If you'd unmute and let me know you understand that.
Alrighty.
Okay. Why don't you?
Would I be needed to leave right now?
Yeah. Why don't you leave until they can get finished talking? You don't need to be privy to what Mr. Jackson has to say
about that. I think we have an agreement between all the parties that the parties will agree to work the services outlined in the petition. Your Honor, I believe that's counseling, parenting class, an OSAR evaluation, and follow any recommendations, and then some random drug screens. We would also need the 15-year-old child to do some counseling.
Okay. Mr. Jackson, is this your client's agreement?
I spoke with her about the services. Yes, sir. And Ms. Arredondo?
Yes.
This is This is your agreement, correct?
Yes.
Yes,
All right,
sir.
thank you. All right. Ms. Lucero, is this your client's agreement?
Your Honor, it is my client's agreement. I'm not sure if he's back there with Miss Arredondo, but
Very
okay.
good.
Gabriel, was this your agreement
What?
that you were willing to work the services? Is that your agreement?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Harris, are you in agreement?
I am, Judge. Thank you.
Okay. All right, then I will approve that agreement. I'll order both parents to work the services as set out in the department's petition. And I will order that, I don't know how you pronounce it, and just also work the services as set out in the department's petition. Mr. Albee, did you want a compliance hearing?
Yes, Your Honor. If you give us 60 days.
Okay. All right, I will set compliance hearing for December 6th, 2023. That will be by Zoom like today's hearing, so parties and attorneys can go on the court's online docket a day or two in advance to see exactly what time on December 6th we will. Mr. Albee is with us for the department. Casa is with us. Mr. Harris is with us representing the children. Ms. Kincaid is with us representing the mother, Ms. Welch. Ms. Kincaid, I don't see her. Were you expecting her?
Your Honor, I tried to reach out to her again yesterday, and I don't know if I had a number that's not working, but I couldn't get a hold of her to give her notice or a reminder today.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Mr. Michelson is not with us. He was with us earlier. I don't know where he is. Haley, let's try to find him. He represents the father, Mr. Welsh, father to Hudson, and I show that he's incarcerated. So we'll give a minute to try to find Mr. Michelson, see why he's not with us. All right, I think we'll go ahead and get started. I'll watch the waiting room for Mr. Michelson. So this case was set for 11:30. It's now 11:45. We'll proceed in Mr. Michelson, Ms. Welsh, and Mr. Welsh's absence. Mr. Albee, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. I would call Ms. Tori Cook. Where are they currently placed?
They're in a group home in Amarillo, Texas.
And is that placement meeting all of their needs?
Yes.
Are there any special issues or special needs for either child that we need to make the court aware of today?
No, sir.
Children's mother is Erica Welsh.
Yes.
And she was ordered to work services through a service plan. Has she been working services?
The only service that she has started is her individual counseling, and I believe she's had 4 sessions.
Have you been in contact with her?
I have, but like her lawyer was saying, phone numbers keep switching, so it's kind of off and on, but I talked to her last week.
Okay. And is she aware of all of the services that she needs to be working?
Yes, sir.
And does she understand that if she doesn't work all of the services, that she may have her parental rights terminated or restricted?
Yes, sir.
What other services other than counseling is she asked to complete?
A drug and alcohol screening, rational behavior therapy, parenting courses, and then whatever the drug and alcohol screening, if there's any referrals on that, then those services would be needed to be completed as well.
When was the last time that you drug screened Miss Welsh?
She actually just went for me on, let's see, the 28th of September.
And what type of drug screen was that?
That was a urinalysis.
And what were the results of that urinalysis?
It did come back negative.
Madeline's father is deceased, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Hudson's father is Mr. Marshall Welsh.
Yes.
And was he also ordered to work services through a service plan?
Yes, sir.
And has he been working any of the services set forth in that service plan?
He is not.
Have you had any contact with him?
I haven't in about 3 weeks.
Okay. My recollection of this is that you asked them to drug screen in August. Both of them drug screened in August. Is that correct?
That is correct.
In August, Dad tested positive for methamphetamines, cocaine, and marijuana.
and amphetamines and codeine.
And mom tested positive for marijuana and codeine.
Yes, and morphine.
And did she give you any explanation as to why she would have tested positive for morphine and codeine?
She stated that she had a prescription, and I asked her to provide that to both me and the drug screening place, and she did not provide it to either of us.
But when she drug screened just recently, she was negative on that drug screen.
Yes, sir.
When was the last time you hair follicled either of these parents?
They were supposed to have a hair follicle when I asked them to go on September 12th, but they did not show to that drug screen.
Are you asking for a hair follicle drug screen today, for the court to order a hair follicle drug screen today for both parents?
Yes, sir.
In the meantime, would you agree with me that because of the lack of forward progress on their services and the conflicting drug screens, that it would be contrary to the general welfare of both children to return them to the parents today?
Yes, sir.
And would you agree with me that it would be unsafe to return the children to the parents today?
Yes, sir.
Are you asking the court then to continue the department as temporary managing conservator and to continue placement where the children are currently placed?
Yes, sir.
You believe all that's in the children's best interest?
I do.
I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
Thank you, Ms. Kincaid.
Thank you, Your Honor. As far as you're aware, is Ms. Welsh still residing in the same place as she was at the beginning of this case?
As far as I'm aware, yes.
Okay. And can you provide to me via email any working phone numbers that you've had luck contacting her through?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I'll pass the witness.
Well, thank you. Mr. Harris?
Thank you, Judge. Ma'am, have you witnessed any of the visits?
I have witnessed one visit.
Okay.
I
And,
was going to go this week to their visit.
and how did the visit go?
The visits do go very well. They're very interactive with the children, able to redirect them. I do not believe Marshall has been at the last 4 visits, though.
Now, is the dad, well, is Mr. Welsh out of jail?
I believe he is out of jail now. I do know that both parents have active warrants for their arrests, though.
And the children now are placed in a group home in Amarillo, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And that's going well so far.
Yes, it has been.
Have we located any potential long-term placements?
No, we haven't at this time. I'm still in contact with family to try to get them placed back with family members.
Any luck so far?
Not so far.
And with regard to the visits, is it 2 hours supervised per week?
Yes.
Is the current group home meeting all the needs of the kiddos?
Yes, they are.
Thank you, ma'am. Pass witness, Judge.
All right, anyone have further questions for Ms. Cook? Tori, the report says both children are on one psychotropic apiece, Maddie for sleep and anxiety and Hudson for ADHD. Are they still on those meds?
Yes, they are, Your Honor.
Are they being monitored at least every 30 days?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. Do you know what, I know that the mother had a warrant for injury to an elderly and Mr. Welsh had a theft case. Is that what the warrants are currently outstanding for, or is it something new?
I believe when I tried to visit the parents, I was waved down by their bondsman that has a warrant for, I guess, not paying back their bond.
Okay, all right. So it has to do with the same charges, but there's a warrant because bondsman's revoked their bond. Okay. All right, thank you. All right, then, Mr. Albee, anything further?
No, Your Honor, we rest.
Thank you, Ms. Kincaid. Any witnesses?
No, Your Honor.
All right, and Mr. Harris, recommendations?
Your Honor, I believe the children are in a safe and appropriate home at this point. And I believe that the previous orders need to remain in effect and those to be in the best interest of the children.
Okay, thank you. Tori, are both of the parents, if they're where they're supposed to be, are they in the Pampa area?
Yes, sir.
So they would drug test at next step?
Yes.
Okay, all right, thank you. All right, then, Casa, anything to add?
No, I don't.
Okay, all right, thank you. All right, then I will continue the department as temporary managing conservator, continue the children's current placements. I'll order both parents to hair follicle drug screen by 4 p.m. today at Next Step in Tampa. Okay, that will conclude this hearing, and I believe this was our last hearing today, Mr. Albee.